So, in today's video, we will look at 3 ghost stories that happened to some people. But Callum, how can we know it's real when you say it happened to some people? I found it on the internet, okay? So shut. Anyway, this first story comes from an anonymous person, and it happened 2 years ago. A really strange, bright figure appeared and looked at this person. And what happened? Let's take a look closer at the full story. Oh, bad movie. Haha, sorry. Something very unique happened to me. So unusual that ever since I've been careful about anything moving at night. It was an unusually dark evening due to a street lamp outage. Like every evening, I prepared my schoolwork and went to bed early. I lay down around 9 o'clock, but for some reason I couldn't fall asleep. After a while, I managed to, but around 2 o'clock, a strange feeling woke me up. Groggily, I went into the darkness to see if something was happening. I stopped because the bathroom door was open. Hearing nothing, I entered and saw our cat lying by the window. She was so focused on something outside that it was unusual for her not to turn around. I thought she was observing some animals, maybe birds, as she occasionally does, making her sounds to attract them. But I was curious about what had captured her attention. So I approached her, wanting to pet her. Up close, I noticed she was a bit tense, and she flinched under my touch. I looked out the window, and there it was. At that moment, I froze, my heart pounding so loudly that it was all I could hear. A chill ran down my spine, and goosebumps covered me. Outside, in the profound darkness, a figure moved, radiating a bright yellow light from head to toe. For a moment, I thought it might be someone with a flashlight, but it didn't make sense. The whole figure was glowing, and as it walked, it didn't touch the ground. It simply levitated slightly above the earth. It moved undisturbed along the path. When it reached a crossroads between paths leading either to our street or further across the meadow, it stopped. At that moment, I prayed for it to keep going straight. But then, it turned in my direction and looked at me. I held my breath. The cat was fully bristled and uneasy. After an eternity, the figure turned around and started running further across the meadow. Both the cat and I couldn't take our eyes off it. The figure ran on until, at a certain point, it evaporated like steam. I absolutely couldn't grasp what had happened and what it was. After a while, I tried to lie down, but I couldn't fall asleep. It just wasn't possible. The figure kept haunting my thoughts. However, time passed, and I had to go to school. I got up and prepared everything, and it was still pitch dark when I looked outside. There were no lights anywhere, and I had to walk in this darkness, knowing what I had seen before. I walked on the familiar path, grateful that I knew it by heart, so I didn't need any light, although at that moment I would have appreciated it. I still had goosebumps, and my heart was beating fast. I kept turning around to stay aware and, if necessary, to have the chance to escape somewhere. When I was thinking about it, I suddenly glimpsed that figure about 10 meters in front of me. I sprinted for my life all the way home, where I caught my breath. I had it in my head for the rest of the day. That was quite a story, I won't lie. So scary. The next story is again from Anonymous. The story is about a little girl who likes to hide under a piano. And well, she will never forget what happened that day until she dies. I've never lived in a haunted house, but my mother did as a teen.
Hi.
Other houses on her street had strange things going on too.
I tried to pay, he begged me to stay. Babe, I'm not staying, I just wanna play. In the party, you just wanna romp. Big boots in the bus, they talk.
A few homes away from her lived a family. One night, the daughter went to bed with a bad headache. The next day, she was dead. She'd passed away from an aneurysm. After her funeral, the family went away to get their minds off the tragedy, and the father asked my uncle, my mom's brother, to check on their pets. My mom and dad, who were dating at the time, went with him. My mother had heard there was a grand piano, and she wanted to play it. My dad was studying to be a veterinarian. After entering the house, my uncle and my father headed to the basement to see the animals, and my mother went to the piano on the ground floor. She was playing it when she felt something brush her ankles. She thought a cat must have left the basement and walked past her. She kept playing, and then she felt it again. She looked under the piano and saw nothing. When she started again, she felt hands clasp her legs tightly. She dashed to the basement door, called my uncle and father, and waited for them. Back outside, my uncle could tell my mom was rattled and asked what was wrong. She told him what had happened, and he turned white. He told her the daughter who had died used to play a game with her father. When he played the piano, she'd crawl underneath, grab his ankles, and push his feet up and down on the pedals. She will never forget what happened that day until she dies. Wow. Do you think she died after the accident? Well, that remains as a question. By the way, before we get to the final story, I have a question for you. Would you want more of this type of content? Let us know in the comments. Now let's get to the final story. This story is scarier than the two before. Two boys are curious about a house next door and decide to go there. They had a great time there until one of the boys faced a fate. What did he do and what exactly happened? Let's look at it. One of my close friends lived next to a house that was always vacant. It would sell, people would move in, and then one day they'd be gone, and the house would be up for sale again. One summer, when the house was listed again and the last family had moved out, we decided to go take a tour and eat some Jack in the Box we had picked up. We weren't very smart sometimes and thought it would be cool to play chicken with whatever was haunting this house. My friend was skinny and crawled through the dog door that led straight into the kitchen. Then opened the back door for me. We went through all of the rooms and it was pretty bland. After we determined that the house wasn't that creepy after all, we sat down in the dining area on the floor. At this point, we had been in the house for maybe 25 minutes, and after we finished eating, we stayed sitting to hang out and talk since we weren't spooked out at all. All of a sudden, my vision went black, and I felt this eerie coldness wash all over me. After what felt like hours, I felt my friend's hands in mine, and he pulled me to my feet and dragged me through the house to the back door. We got outside and slowly... You know that feeling when you get a whole body shiver and it runs down your spine? As soon as I was outside, that's what I felt. Except this was a whole body shiver that started at the tip of my toes and went all the way up to my scalp, and unexpectedly and suddenly I could see again. And that was our last story for today. Hope you liked that and it made your day. And we hope we made you laugh somehow. Thank you for watching and see you another week with more scary videos.